Hi, my name is Mary Stork, and I am so excited to be here with you today. You are taking time out of your busy schedules to invest in yourselves and invest in your families. And I know it's not easy to do, but it's so important that you've carved this time out. And I think it's going to be well worth the time too. So thank you in advance for spending a few minutes with me today. I wanted to share a few tips with you on how you can make the most of your time during deployment, and also some financial tips to help you prepare for this deployment from a financial perspective. First of all, let me start by sharing a little bit about myself. I grew up in a military family. So my dad was an Army soldier. I grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is right next door to Fort Bragg, where we were stationed. I then married an 82nd Airborne soldier who served in Iraq, so deployed to Iraq as a combat veteran now. And then my sister is an Army spouse, so I have seen deployment through a couple of different lenses, and I wanted to pull all those threads together for you to help shape and frame some of the advice or tips that I would share with you from those deployment experiences. First of all, my dad, he was an enlisted Army soldier, and my mom, like many spouses do, chose to stay at home while my dad was in the Army. It was great that she did. My dad deployed a lot, went on very long TDY trips, deployments overseas, weeks in the field. And so having a parent at home was definitely important for my sister and myself, but it did come with its own challenges. Budgets were tight. And in fact, one memory that I have that's very vivid for me is watching my mother count coins a few days before payday to go and get necessities, to get milk at the grocery store, because our finances were so thin and so stretched. And for me, that moment of time really solidified my decision to go into a career of financial advice, and financial advice specifically focused on the military community. Then transitioned forward, and I got married to an Army, I was gonna say an Army guy. I got married to an 82nd Airborne soldier. And with that comes all sorts of decisions that you have to make, and some of which are unique to a military family. For example, do we live on base or off base? If we live off base, do we buy or rent? Because we don't know how long we'll be in this location. All of those decisions are unique to a military family, or that decision. Life insurance. Do we have enough life insurance? Is SGLI enough for our family and the needs that we have? Do we need more life insurance, depending on our mortgages, and if we have kids or other debts, things like that? Do we need more life insurance? So these are decisions that you make as a military couple that are unique and different. Transition again, watching my sister later in life with her husband, who deployed 5 times with 3 small children to Iraq and Afghanistan, and the decisions that they made through those deployments, and then the decisions that they made as my brother-in-law retired just a couple of years ago. So super exciting for him. Very unique life events, and we know, that those life events and those decisions can really help make or break a strong financial foundation for a family. I really believe that deployments are one of those key life events. So my story is just one data point, but we know that deployments continue to happen and conflicts continue to happen all around the world at any given time. In fact, this past April, military.com reported that there were about 120,000 soldiers from the Army deployed abroad. That's about the same number as the peak during Iraq and Afghanistan. So I don't have any special insights as to what the future holds for us, but what I do know is that the challenges that deployments bring are going to continue. And so I want to share with you some ideas to help you meet those challenges as you're headed into this deployment. When my husband was deployed, one of the things that I did was I took the time to double down my focus on my career and my self-development. It kept me busy, and it kept me focused on that more so than counting the number of days until he returned and ticking them off. So I needed that distraction, and it turned out to be a distraction that really was an investment truly in myself and my future, and paid back dividends that I couldn't have even imagined at the time I was taking those classes and spending time and building my career. So I started my career in financial advice giving financial advice to the military community, specifically in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And when I reflect back, it's really my life experiences as a spouse, as a daughter, as a sister, that drove my decision to dedicate my career to financial advice and invest so much of my time in that field. So now I've spent the last 17 years at USAA, and I feel so privileged to have had the opportunity to help develop advice experiences specific to the unique life events that you all face and the one that you're facing now. One thing that I've learned from my career in advice, in financial advice, is that success hinges on fundamentals, the basics. And these are some things that we know need to be done. They're not always the most fun things that we may have on our to-do list, but I want to touch on a few of those learnings that relate to your deployment, the coming deployment, and I hope that you'll find value in these tips. First one, if you're going to put a vehicle in storage, make sure that you update your auto policy. This can save you almost up to 80% in premiums with a vehicle in storage. So if you're going to store a vehicle, make sure that you update the auto policy to reflect that storage. Review your life insurance coverage and the beneficiaries on the life insurance coverage. It's important to make sure you have the right amount, as I mentioned earlier, depending on what your mortgage looks like, or if you have auto loans or credit cards, or if you have children, whatever it might be that's unique to your life situation. You want to make sure that your life insurance is adequate and will cover your family in case something happens to either one of you, by the way, the deploying spouse or the non-deploying spouse. And then make sure that your beneficiaries are updated and they're documented with the life insurance company as well. Get your legal documents in order. So power of attorneys play a key role in preparation. This gives you financial options during this deployment. But a will and a healthcare power of attorney are also critical, again, to make sure that your documents are in line and to simplify things should something happen and you need to use those types of documents. Check your debit and credit card expiration dates. This is one that I think people often overlook, but I can tell you from experience with my nephew who is deployed abroad now, his debit card expired while he was deployed, and it was a bit challenging to get a new debit card issued and get everything sent over to him in locations where he didn't know where he was going to be, and he wanted to be able to have access to those funds. So check your debit card and credit card expiration dates, and if they're going to expire while you're gone, go on ahead and get new ones sent to you, and that way you don't have to worry about it. It's taken care of for the rest of the deployment. Double check that you have current passports, just in case there are any last minute travel needs. So obviously the deploying spouse will have their passport, but make sure that the immediate family has passports as well. So just in case you've got to get overseas quickly, you've got passports ready, you could go. There are even more tips and resources available for you. So if you go to usaa.com/deployment, there's an advice checklist. There is an action plan, and you can take a look at all of those to help you kind of plan out different actions that you may or may not have thought of, or at least be able to check them off and feel a bit more organized. I hope my story gives you a little bit of inspiration to invest in yourself, gives you some tips to set yourself and your family up for success while your spouse is deployed. And again, I know that some of these tasks aren't always the most fun thing to do, but they are ones that you will feel so much better having done them and knowing that your family is set up no matter what the future may hold. USAA is so proud to continue to serve members like myself, like you, like my sister, my mom and dad. And I am so proud to be able to be a part of that and to continue to work hard to be there for all of you with advice and guidance at timely and relevant moments in your family's lives, especially in a military family life where decisions are unique and different. So I'd love to hear from you and hear your tips specific to the military and your deployments, how you're investing in yourself, tips to set your family up for success, as well as what you're doing during this show. So enjoy the rest of the program, and please connect with me on LinkedIn.